Being born an Omega in my family was the same as being born a burden. From the very beginning, I knew I wasn't wanted. My older brother, Adrian, was the alpha, strong, dominant, and everything my parents had ever dreamed of. He was the heir, the pride of our bloodline. And me? I was the mistake, the Omega son who ruined their perfect image. While Adrian was praised for every little thing he did, I was punished for even existing. When he got high marks, Father boasted to his friends. When I did well, Father sneered. It's expected. Don't think this makes you special. When Adrian broke a vase, he was forgiven with laughter. When I accidentally dropped a cup, Mother slapped me across the face and hissed, "Do you ever do anything right?" I learned quickly that my role was to endure, to keep my head down, to accept that in their eyes, I would never be enough. But even with all their cruelty, I never thought they would destroy me completely. The death started quietly. At first, it was small whispers, Father spending more nights away, Mother's nervous pacing, letters hidden in drawers. I wasn't supposed to know, but I overheard enough to piece it together. Father had borrowed heavily from dangerous men. Investments failed. Loans piled up. Soon, our house filled with tension. Strangers came to the door, demanding money. Father's voice grew harsher. Mother's hands trembled constantly. Adrian was the only one untouched. My parents shielded him from everything, pretending the world couldn't touch their golden alpha son. And me? I became the target. Every frustration, every anger, every ounce of their shame, they took it out on me. You eat too much for someone who contributes nothing. If only we hadn't been cursed with an Omega. Why couldn't you have been the alpha instead of Adrian? Their words bruised more than their hands ever could. The night it happened, Adrian was home. My parents treated him like royalty as usual, serving him his favorite meal while I sat quietly with a plate of scraps. Father poured him expensive wine, even though we had no money left for food. I tried to stay invisible, but Father's eyes found me anyway, sharp and bitter. "Do you know why we're in this mess, Luca?" he spat suddenly. "Because useless things like you drain us. If we only had Adrian, we wouldn't be here." Adrian smirked, leaning back in his chair. "He's not wrong. You're lucky we even let you live in this house." Their laughter cut me open, but I said nothing. What was the point? I went to my room, clutching my worn book, the only comfort I had left, and whispered to myself, "Just endure, Luca. Just endure." But then my mother entered. She was carrying a cup of warm milk, her smile strangely soft, almost kind. "Drink this, Luca," she said. "It will help you sleep. You've been so tense lately." I stared at the cup, suspicion curling in my chest. My mother had never once brought me anything with care. Not in all my years. Why now? Still, I wanted so badly to believe her. To believe that maybe, deep down, she still loved me. So I drank it. The bitterness hit my tongue instantly. My throat burned. My limbs grew heavy. "Mother," I whispered, fear surging. What did you?" But my words slurred. The room spun. My body crumpled. Her face blurred above me. For a moment, I thought I saw guilt in her eyes. But then she turned away, and darkness swallowed me whole. When I woke, I was no longer in my bed. My wrists were bound in cold metal cuffs. My head pounded, my body weak and unsteady. The air smelled of smoke and rust. I lay on the floor of a dim hallway, two guards looming over me like vultures. "Get up," one barked, yanking me to my feet. I stumbled, terror clawing at my chest. Where am I? Where's my family?" They didn't answer. Instead, they dragged me forward. And when we stepped into the main hall, the truth hit me like a blade. The room was filled with wealthy strangers, their eyes glittering with greed. Velvet chairs lined the floor like an audience waiting for a show. At the center stood a raised platform under harsh lights. A stage. An auction. My body froze. My breath stopped. And no. But then I saw them. My parents. Standing near the back. My father's hand rested proudly on Adrian's shoulder. My brother smirked at me, his eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. And my mother avoided my gaze, her lips trembling but her feet unmoving. The betrayal was complete. Mother. Father. My voice cracked, raw with terror. What are you doing? My father's glare silenced me. Finally, you'll be useful. Be quiet and don't shame us further. Adrian chuckled. You always were a waste. At least now you can pay back a little of what you owe us. His words cut deeper than any blade. The guards shoved me onto the platform. The lights blinded me. The auctioneer's voice rang out, slick and cheerful. Lot number 7. A young Omega, unmarked, untouched, and healthy. Shall we start the bidding at 50,000? The crowd erupted. 70, 90, 100. Each number was another nail in the coffin. I thrashed against the guard's hold, tears streaming down my face. Please, please don't do this. I'll work, I'll do anything, just don't sell me. The crowd laughed. One man in the front leaned forward with a cruel grin. Such a pretty Omega. I'll break him in less than a week. My stomach twisted violently. My knees buckled. And still, my parents did nothing. My father's expression was stone. My mother's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. Adrian smirked, his arms crossed, enjoying the show. They weren't going to save me. Something inside me broke. The fragile hope I'd clung to my whole life, that even if they hated me, my family would never truly abandon me, crumbled into dust. I was nothing to them. I was just currency. The bidding climbed higher, louder, and then silence. A voice deeper, colder, more commanding than the rest cut through the room. I'll pay 200. The hall buzzed with excitement, but when that voice cut through the noise, the entire room went still. 200. Low, commanding, cold. The number wasn't just a bid, it was a decree. Heads snapped toward the back of the auction hall. Whispers hissed like frightened snakes. I followed their gaze, and when I saw him, the breath fled from my lungs. A man stepped forward, towering, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark tailored suit that clung perfectly to his frame. His presence was suffocating, the kind of dominance that demanded submission without a word. 2 men in black flanked him, bodyguards with eyes like stone and guns hidden under their coats. The crowd parted instantly. No one dared to block his path. The beast alpha, someone whispered. Another hissed, shut up, don't say his name out loud. Ronan. I knew the name. Everyone did. He was a shadow that stretched across the city, the king of the underworld. Rich, untouchable, merciless. People said he made his fortune in blood, that every luxury he owned was bought with someone else's life. He owned nightclubs, casinos, shipping companies, properties across the country. He controlled debts, trade, and secrets. Politicians whispered with him in back rooms. Rivals either disappeared or were found in pieces. And now he had come for me. The auctioneer cleared his throat, voice faltering. 200 from our esteemed guest. Do I hear 210? Silence. The men who had been shouting numbers minutes ago suddenly bowed their heads. Some lowered their paddles. Others shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. No one dared outbid him. It wasn't about money anymore. Everyone in this room was rich. But Ronan wasn't just rich, he was power. The kind of power that crushed anyone foolish enough to stand against it. The auctioneer swallowed hard, sweat dripping down his temple. 200 going, once going twice. The hammer fell with a sharp crack. Sold. To our honored guest. My knees buckled. The guards yanked me forward, dragging me down the steps of the platform. My vision blurred with tears. I searched desperately for my parents in the crowd. There they were. My father stood tall, satisfaction written across his face, as though he'd just made the deal of his life. My mother's lips trembled, but she didn't move, didn't speak. And Adrian, my alpha brother, their golden son, smirked with cruel amusement. His arms folded, as if watching me be sold was nothing more than entertainment. Mother, father, please. My voice broke as the guards shoved me forward. Don't let them take me. I'll do anything, please. My father's glare was sharp enough to slice me open. Shut up, boy. For once in your life, you're worth something. Don't shame us further. Adrian chuckled under his breath. Finally, you're being useful. Enjoy your new master, brother. Their words crushed me, and still they did nothing as I was dragged to my doom. The guards shoved me forward until I stumbled into the shadow of Ronan himself. Up close, he was devastating. His tailored suit smelled faintly of expensive cologne and leather. A heavy watch gleamed at his wrist, encrusted with black diamonds that caught the light. Every detail screamed wealth and ruthlessness. My body trembled violently. I forced myself to meet his gaze, just once. Storm gray eyes bore into me, sharp, cold, calculating. His gaze moved over my face, the tear streaks on my cheeks, the bruises on my wrists. For a moment, I thought I saw something. Anger? Pity? No. It was gone too quickly, replaced by nothing but lethal calm. "Take him," he said to the guards, his voice deep, controlled, and absolute. The words weren't shouted, but they cut through the room like a blade. The guard shoved me into his grip, his hand clamped around my arm, firm, unyielding, but not cruel. My skin burned where he touched me. I gasped, trying to wrench away. Please don't take me. I'll die." He didn't answer. Didn't even look at me again. He turned, dragging me behind him like property he had just bought. The crowd melted aside as we passed. No one dared to meet his eyes. Heads bowed, whispers rose. Why that Omega? He won't survive a week. Maybe he reminds him of the last one. The last one? My stomach twisted. What did that mean? I stumbled after Ronan, my body weak from the drugs, my tears hot on my cheeks. I risked one last glance back. My family watched me disappear. Not a single hand reached for me. Not a single voice called out my name. They had sold me. For money. For their debts. For their precious alpha son's comfort. I was nothing more than a transaction to them. Outside, the night air hit me like a slap. Waiting at the curb was a car unlike anything I'd ever seen. A black luxury sedan, sleek and polished, gleaming under the streetlights. The doors bore a subtle crest, Ronan's mark, a symbol everyone in the city feared. The driver, dressed in black with a gloved hand on the door, bowed his head the moment Ronan approached. "Boss." Ronan opened the back door himself, shoving me inside. Not rough, not gentle, just efficient, like handling an object. I tumbled onto the leather seats. The air smelled of money and power, polished wood, fine cologne, faint smoke. My wrists throbbed where the cuffs bit into my skin. He slid in beside me. His presence filled the space, his aura pressing against me so strongly that I could barely breathe. The door shut with a heavy click. The driver pulled away smoothly. Silence. Only the hum of the engine and my ragged breaths. I dared to glance at him. Ronan sat perfectly still, one arm resting on the door, his legs slightly apart, the picture of dominance and control. His suit stretched over his frame, expensive fabric glinting faintly in the dim light. A heavy ring gleamed on his finger, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. His expression was unreadable, his eyes fixed on the passing city lights, as though I didn't exist. My voice broke the silence, trembling. What are you going to do to me?" His gaze flicked to me then, sharp and piercing. My breath froze. For a moment, his eyes lingered on me, and I thought he would laugh. Mock me. Threaten me. Instead, he turned back to the window. "Nothing," he said simply. The word echoed in the air. Nothing? Confusion tangled with fear. My lips trembled. Then why by me? His jaw tightened slightly. His fingers tapped once against the leather seat. Finally, he answered. "Because if I hadn't, someone else would have." His voice was low, controlled. "Dangerous. And I don't let trash own what's mine." Mine. The words sank into me like fire. I curled into myself, clutching my bound wrists, my heart thundering. I didn't know what was worse, being sold to a monster who lusted for me, or being bought by a Mafia king who claimed me like property. The car sped into the night, carrying me away from my family, my past, everything I had known. And as I sat in the suffocating shadow of Ronan, the beast alpha, the Mafia boss, the man who had just bought my freedom and my chains in the same breath, I realized something terrifying. My nightmare had only just begun. The first thing I learned about Ronan Hale's house was that silence lived there. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that pressed against your ears, reminding you that you were being watched even when you were alone. The kind that made every footstep echo too loudly, every breath feel like a mistake. I was given a room on the 3rd floor. Calling it a room felt wrong. It was bigger than the entire apartment my family used to live in. A massive bed with black silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows covered by heavy curtains. A private bathroom lined with marble and gold fixtures that looked too expensive to touch. A cage dressed in luxury. A maid, head lowered, eyes averted, showed me around without speaking unless spoken to. Every movement she made was careful, rehearsed. Fear lived in her posture. Everyone here feared Ronan. Are all the doors locked? I asked quietly when I noticed the absence of handles on the inside. She hesitated before nodding. For your safety. I almost laughed. When she left, the door clicked shut behind her with a finality that made my chest ache. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my trembling hands. My body still felt wrong, heavy, sluggish, like the drugs hadn't fully worn off. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every time I closed my eyes, memories clawed their way back in. My mother gripping my arm too tightly. My father turning his back. My brother standing in the doorway, tall and proud, watching without saying a word as they dragged me away. Alpha. He had always been their miracle, their proof that they hadn't failed completely. I was just the mistake that came after. When I finally slept, nightmares followed. I woke with a sharp gasp, sweat soaking through the sheets, my heart racing wildly. The room was dark, shadows stretching across the walls like reaching hands. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. Then, reality crashed down on me. Ronan Hale's house. I curled inward, hugging my knees to my chest. I felt small, disposable, just like I always had. A soft knock sounded at the door. I froze. Come in, I whispered after a moment. The door opened quietly. It wasn't Ronan. Relief and disappointment tangled strangely in my chest. Instead, an older woman entered, her movements gentle. She carried a tray of food. You should eat, she said kindly, placing it on the table. Her eyes lingered on me with something like pity. Why are you being nice to me? I asked before I could stop myself. She stiffened slightly. Because you belong here now. Belong. The word tasted bitter. After she left, I forced myself to eat. The food was rich, warm, perfectly prepared. It felt wrong to consume something so good when I felt so broken. Days passed slowly. I was given clothes, soft fabrics, expensive brands. Anything I needed appeared before I asked. Yet I wasn't free. Guards stood outside my door at all times. Cameras followed me silently through the halls. Ronan rarely appeared. When he did, the house changed. Conversations stopped. Servants vanished. The air grew heavier. I would feel him before I saw him, his presence sinking into my skin, my Omega instincts reacting against my will. One evening, I crossed paths with him in the hallway. He stopped when he saw me. I stopped too, instinctively lowering my gaze. You're healing, he observed. I nodded. Yes. Good. That was it. He walked past me, his shoulder brushing mine briefly. The contact sent a jolt through my body, heat flaring low in my stomach. I hated myself for it. Later that night, voices woke me. Shouting. Crashing. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. Fear wrapped around my throat as I crept to the door, pressing my ear against it. You think you can cheat me? A voice snarled. Ronan's voice followed, calm and lethal. You thought wrong. A gunshot rang out. I screamed before I could stop myself. The noise echoed through the hall. Silence followed, thick, final. My hands shook violently. I backed away from the door, nausea rising. The next morning, no one mentioned it. The blood was gone. The house spotless. As if nothing had happened. That was when I truly understood. Ronan Hale wasn't just dangerous. He was absolute. And yet, that afternoon, a servant accidentally knocked into me, spilling water onto my clothes. He panicked instantly, dropping to his knees. I'm sorry. Ronan appeared at the end of the hall. What's going on? The servant trembled. I opened my mouth to speak, but Ronan raised a hand. His eyes scanned me quickly, ensuring I wasn't hurt. "Get up," he told the servant coldly. "Leave." The man fled. Ronan turned to me. "You don't belong on the floor." I didn't ask. "I know," he interrupted. Still, he removed his jacket and draped it over my shoulders without warning. The warmth shocked me. His scent wrapped around me, steady and grounding. For a second, just a second, I felt safe. That terrified me more than the gunshot ever had. Because monsters weren't supposed to make you feel safe. And yet, Ronan Hale was slowly becoming the only thing standing between me and the world that had already decided I was worthless. I didn't know what I was to him. A purchase. A possession. A shield against his own loneliness. All I knew was this. I had been sold once. And now, the most dangerous alpha alive was making it clear that no one would ever take me from him again. I should have known peace would never come quietly. It started with whispers. The servants moved faster, spoke less. Guards doubled at every entrance. The silence in the mansion sharpened, tense like a drawn blade. Even without anyone telling me, I felt it in my bones. Danger was coming. And it was coming for me. I found out the truth by accident. I was in the library one evening, trying to lose myself in a book I couldn't focus on, when I heard voices outside the door. Ronan's voice, low, controlled, dangerous. And another man's voice, shaking. "They found him," the man said. "The buyer you humiliated at the auction. He wants the Omega. Says he paid first. Says you stole his property." Property. My hands began to tremble. Ronan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "He can want whatever he likes," he replied calmly. "If he steps foot on my land, I'll bury him under it. But boss, there's pressure. Old debts. Old alliances." There was a pause. Long, heavy. "I don't get back what's mine," Ronan said finally. I backed away from the door, my heart racing. This was my fault. Because of me, people would die. Because of me, Ronan's enemies were circling. That night, I made a decision. I packed quietly. There wasn't much. I owned nothing that hadn't been given to me. I left the jacket Ronan had draped over my shoulders, folded neatly on the bed. I didn't leave a note. I didn't trust myself not to beg. I made it as far as the garden. "Where do you think you're going?" His voice froze me in place. Ronan stood at the edge of the path, shadows clinging to him like they belonged there. His eyes were dark, unreadable. "I don't want you to die because of me," I whispered. "I was sold once already. I won't be the reason blood spills again." He crossed the distance between us in seconds. His grip on my wrist was firm, but not painful. "You still don't understand," he said quietly. "Then explain," I snapped, tears burning. "Am I just another possession? Another deal?" Something broke in his expression. Just slightly. Enough for me to see it. "You were bought," he said. "But you were never owned." I stared at him. "You think I don't know what your parents did to you," he continued. "You think I don't know what it means to be treated like something disposable." His hand moved to my chin, tilting my face up, not forceful. Steady. "I didn't save you because I'm kind," he admitted. "I saved you because I recognized pain I know too well." My breath hitched. "I won't let anyone take you," he said. "Not enemies. Not your family. Not fate. But the choice to stay." His thumb brushed under my eye, wiping away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. "That has to be yours." For the first time in my life, someone wasn't deciding for me. I didn't run. The attack came 3 nights later. Gunfire shattered the gates. Alarm screamed. Chaos erupted. Ronan moved like a storm, cold, precise, lethal. I was rushed into a safe room, but even through thick walls I heard it. Violence. Power. A man protecting what he refused to lose. When it was over, the mansion was silent again. Ronan came to me with blood on his hands, not mine. "Never mine. It's done," he said simply. I reached for him before fear could stop me. My arms wrapped around his waist, my face pressed into his chest. He stiffened, then slowly, carefully held me back. I felt it then. The bond. Not forced. Not bought. Chosen. Weeks passed. The threats vanished. My parents tried to reach out, Money spent, debts cleared, regret dripping from every word. Ronan blocked them all. My alpha brother never came. And for the first time, it didn't hurt. One morning, standing on the balcony overlooking the estate, Ronan stood beside me. "You can leave if you want," he said. "I'll give you a house, money, a new life." I looked at him, this dangerous, terrifying alpha, who had never once touched me without permission. "I don't want to leave," I said. "But I don't want to belong either." His lips curved faintly. "Then stay. As my mate, not my property." I took his hand. I wasn't sold. I wasn't owned. I was chosen. And this time, I chose back.